Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative Podcast, the podcast where we have digital discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, music, entertainment, sports. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On Twitter, I go as PD Beats. Really excited to be joined by an actress. You may have seen her as Sage on the hit series. Season 1 just wrapped up of The Gifted on Fox. We have Hayley Lovitt. Hayley, welcome to Popternative.
Hello, thank you.
So, first off, just congratulations on the success of The Gifted. Season 1 just wrapped up. Greenlit confirmed season 2 for Fox, so that's unbelievable. It's a great time for the Marvel Universe right now.
Yeah. For X-Men in particular.
X-Men specifically. So I want to know from your from your perspective, when you found out about The Gifted and the possibility of you being on this show, what was kind of going through your mind, and what was the process like of getting involved with the show?
Well, the process was similar to anything else that is casting here, but you usually don't know too much about the project going in, especially for a new show, because everything has like code names. You don't call the show what it's called, and but especially for a new show, because when a show's been out, you kind of learn what the code names are. And I didn't really know what the show was. I didn't know. I think I might have known that it was Marvel, and I don't remember. Didn't know what the character was or anything. And there was even sometimes when you're auditioning for a different character or with different lines, just to kind of like trip you up about. Everything's so non-disclosure. You're not allowed to know so many things. So I kind of got into it once I started with my fittings and talking to costumes and talking to the designer, like who I was playing and what was going on. I think I got my script. I think I got it after I started my fittings. So I was really learning a lot from the costume designer during my first couple of fittings.
Really cool. For people that don't necessarily know, people that don't know a little bit about The Gifted, you mentioned Marvel Universe, X-Men, but Sage, your character Sage, can you tell us a little bit about your character for people who aren't familiar with her?
Sure, yeah. So Sage is from the comics. There are a number of us on the show that play characters who are in the comics. Most of us, actually. I know Sean Teal's character Eclipse is just based in the show, which is original and cool in its own right. But it's really neat also to be playing someone from the comics with so much history, with so much of a fan base from the comics already, where people are like, the difficult part about it is learning all the stuff about this character, because there's so many comics that include these characters, and sometimes fans know a little bit more than me, and I'm like racing to catch up on the info. But Sage is a computer brain mutant in the X-Men universe. She can like process information lightning fast. She retains everything. She reads and sees and hears, and she's really good with like calculating probabilities and odds, and kind of basing decisions on the math. She has a human quality to her, and she's a very compassionate person, has empathy for others, but most of her decisions are based on the math.
And I just love it because there's no shortage of content out there with Netflix and Hulu and the cable network shows like Gifted on Fox. It's just fantastic. I found it interesting, and I wanted to touch on it a little bit. Not to say that it wasn't always popular, because it was. I find the last couple of years there's kind of been a boom in the geek culture and comic culture, like a big boom, like the last 2-3 years. Do you kind of agree with me on that? Like I
totally agree with you.
It's huge.
I would love to tell you my theory on why this is, because I've noticed the same thing, and I talk about that too, because I'm like, superheroes have always been a thing. You've always had like the classic Superman and stuff like that, but they've just really blown up. And I really attribute it to the internet because everyone is so well connected now. And I feel like in decades past, people who were like comic geeks, they were not that they like hid under a rock about being a comic geek, but it just wasn't in the mainstream because it wasn't on the internet. And now that everyone can kind of connect, and you have all these different cons where Comic-Con and Heroes and Fan Fest, that kind of thing, they kind of all connect and they can share their interests, and it just grows and expands. The internet causes, a lot of things to do that, but I definitely think that the connection there has been what's made it boom so big.
That's interesting because Popternative, like my background, social media. So when I first started the show, it's kind of shifted more towards focusing on kind of like everyday culture and kind of like topics, and about like focusing on my guests and the work. But like social media is always like a part of it. So like you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I see you on social media. I see you on Twitter. You're all the cast members of the shows are so active on Twitter, whether it's like live tweeting the show or afterwards. It's just fantastic to see. It's a whole different dimension added now from the perspective of the actor, the actresses, and from the fans as well. It's adding a whole new like layer to everything.
Yeah.
So my question is, how are you kind of because it's like that it's kind of showing that the industry is evolving, where you kind of I've said this like all the time. People still send fan mail. Fan mail's like, I still see a lot of like movie actors and actresses writing like, send me fan mail, this PO. But now like they can get a tweet. They can get a fan art that's posted on Instagram. It's completely changed.
Right. Yeah. We still love the hard copy stuff too.
No, absolutely.
Send it to our agent.
Absolutely, but do you agree though that it's shifting a lot?
Yeah, I agree, and it's also a really cool way to interact with fans, because before there's always been like this hard cut barrier of like, you're in a box in their house and they can see you but you can't see them. And now through social media you get to like interact with people that are fans of the show, and it's really cool. It's cool for them and it's cool for us because we get to see people's reactions like right away. We get to see their personal reaction. That's not always good. There's some haters out there, but like, it's just really cool to like see that interaction, to have that interaction, to see the fans like what they like about the show, and it kind of gets us more, or at least for me, it gets me like more excited about the show, seeing everyone else's buzz and excitement about it.
What do you kind of think? What I find very interesting is, so with a lot of shows, like I mentioned, there's a lot more shows, a lot more opportunity. I see it as a little bit of a double-edged sword, because I look at a lot of up-and-coming stars like yourself, and on other shows like The Punisher. We had Michael Nathanson, who played Sam Stein on The Punisher. He's come on our show before, and so I find it interesting because, yeah, you could look at it and be like, wow, so many new shows. They're making all these shows from the Marvel Universe. They're making all these different shows. Now there's like opportunities for more work. There's opportunities to get out there. There's opportunities to audition more. But then the other side of it, it's like, yeah, there's more work. It might be even tougher because there's more kind of competition. I mean, you're obviously not going to think about the competition aspect of things, but it is a little bit of a double-edged sword. Have you ever thought about that a bit?
I'm not sure I follow you exactly, to be honest. I think what you're saying is like, with
it's a good thing that there's
superhero stuff in particular.
Yeah, like with superhero, there's so much of it, right? And then there's more opportunities now for a lot of guest stars are recurring. Yeah, I'm just saying.
But then like everybody wants to do that, so it's like, okay, there's more opportunities, but everybody's like bottlenecking into those.
Yes,
roles.
So a little bit of a double-edged sword in regards.
Yeah, I've been super lucky, I guess, in that respect, because like.
No, I don't.
Ant-Man. I'm getting to play Sage and the Gifted. So
I don't like. I mean, you say I'm lucky, but I don't think it's fair when people say it's luck, because I know the hard work that goes into it. So I don't want you saying luck, because people say, yeah, it might be luck here or there, but I don't like that, because it's hard work and no one should ever take that away from you.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. There's a good quote from I haven't seen Game of Thrones yet, but the guy on Game of Thrones Peter Dinklage.
Mm-hmm.
He had some good quote about how don't call it luck because it's all the hard work and
absolutely.
Here's some work that we put into it.
I never understood that. And it's so funny because I'm a big wrestling fan and I have a lot of wrestlers on my show, and wrestling industry is so interesting for that because you'll have guys that debut on WWE and everyone were like, oh wow, this is like a new wrestler, but then you realize that this guy's been wrestling for like 15-20 years,
right,
and they're calling him
overnight
new
to you because you're just now seeing them, but it's like, okay, well,
exactly,
it's been a lot of struggle.
Exactly. It's almost like too you kind of have shows where I remember, like, so Riverdale on CW is huge, right? And you'll have someone that guest stars that maybe people don't know that person that much, right? But for example, some of like the actresses on that show, I've seen them in like smaller horror movies before, so I knew exactly who they were. But a lot of people just know them. Oh, they came out of the blue. Like, no, they've been acting for a while.
Right, yeah.
So I find that interesting. What are some of the goals, would you say? I mean, it's 2018. It's crazy how time's going by. Like, we're at the end of January almost. It's like I feel like I celebrated New Year's like yesterday almost. But what are some of the goals for Hayley Lovitt in 2018? Like, what are you thinking of doing? I mean, there's probably a lot going on with your mind, and it's a lot focused on The Gifted. But is there anything else specifically that you're kind of looking to do in 2018?
Well, of course, I'm looking forward to season 2 of The Gifted, big time. As actors, sometimes we get like a goal show where we're like, oh God, I really want to get on that show, especially like since I'm based in Atlanta right now. And there's some shows that shoot here that I'm really into that I really want to get on. Atlanta with Donald Glover, I love that show. And then also Ozark with Jason Bateman.
One of the best shows. Oh, have you seen it?
Can I do something real quick?
Sure.
Hey, Kevin! My roommate's on that show. Let's see if he can come on here.
What?
Do you know, I'm gonna text him.
What is happening right now? I'm so excited because I love that show.
Hey, I want to come on the show.
Kevin. Who did he play?
He plays Sam Dermody, the real estate agent.
Yes, okay. Oh man. But that's just a fantastic show. And that's one of those shows where it's I feel like it's the best opportunity for that type of genre because it's kind of like dark and mysterious, and Netflix is just making so many of those shows right now, and I loved Ozark. It was one of my favorites of the year. That's crazy. I did not know that.
I of course knew like it was gonna come out, and then he's not here. Just kidding.
Well, that's crazy. Well, maybe another time you can come on the show because I love to talk. I love to talk to him about that. Yeah, because that he was a huge part of the show.
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything just for spoilers, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
So hopefully he
so that's one of my goal shows, not because my roommate's on it, but because I love that show, and I love Jason Bateman so much. He's such a great actor, but he's also such a great director. If you ever read about his directing and how he really allows people to have their process and whatnot. But.
So I find that interesting. You mentioning that a cast member from Ozark is your roommate. I find that interesting. So going back to what I said about like the double-edged sword there, where like the competition, there still seems to be like a bond between a lot of like actors and actresses that are on similar shows that have like reoccurring roles. And I see a lot of the like interactions on social media as well. Do you think social media has strengthened the bonds between actors and actresses on different shows that are?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think so. I think number one, like once you've been in the industry for a while, you realize like the actors they're your competition, but you don't think of them that way. They're your co-stars, they're your friends. They're the people that you work with, and it's great to have these connections and have friends in the industry and kind of, I don't know, just you have that bond that other people don't quite understand your schedule or understand the work. And social media is I definitely am friends with actors through social media that I wouldn't know if it weren't for social media.
Are you starting to kind of get noticed a lot or become like a talking point amongst your like family and friends? Like I'm sure like your family members are at like the grocery store and they're like, hey, Hayley's on The Gifted, yeah, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure that happens nonstop now.
Yeah, not nonstop, but it does, and it's really funny because my dad's like, hey, can I get you to write these autographs for these people? And I'm like, really? Like, won't it seem a little douchey if I do that? He's like, no, they've been asking. I'm like, I feel a little like self-important whenever I'm like.
I mean, I talked to a lot of people. I mean, what's funny too is I had like Josh Martinez and I had a bunch of other contestants from Big Brother, like the latest episode of Big Brother on my show. And that's crazy because they're like literally like regular people that go on that show and it's like autographs and selfies like everywhere. And I kind of asked them, and I'm curious to see your perspective of this. Is like, that's kind of what you sign up for, like being recognized and people like knowing who you are. I mean, there's always two places where I'd say like I would never like accept like to take a photo or an autograph if someone like, you know, would like follow you near your house. That's like a no. Or if you're like sitting down with your family and having dinner and they come to your table, like no, don't do that. But if you're in a mall walking around and someone that wants to take a photo with you,
I would say if there's two places, it would be near the house, definitely. Oh, or the bathroom.
Yeah, the bathroom. But that I feel like I didn't have to say.
Dinner, I don't think I would worry. I wouldn't mind so much if it was just like a quick pop in.
But it's not gonna be a quick pop in, right? Maybe it will, but maybe it will be like, oh, so what are the plans for Sage?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people just pop in and say, hey, wanted to meet you. Can I get a photo or whatever? And especially if we're out with the whole cast and people see some of the others that are in a lot of stuff.
I'm sure it's crazy though to think that like you were kind of watching a lot of these shows and it's kind of like full circle for you a little bit, right? Where you like, I'm sure you had a lot of there's a lot of shows and a lot of actors and actresses you looked up to, and now like people are kind of coming to you and like asking you for autographs. It's pretty cool how that happens, right?
I'm not sure I understand. You're just saying it's cool that like people like come up and say.
It's like you had like maybe role models or people that you looked up to in the industry, right? Yeah. And you asked them for autographs or take photos, and now it's like people are asking you to take photos.
Yeah, and that's kind of the moment when you realize like, whoa, like we are really all just the
people.
Same. All humans. So like I mean it's totally fine, and I love it when people come up to me and talk to me, and then especially if they love the show. If they hate the show, don't talk to me.
Great. I think we'll wrap up here, but Hayley, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know it's been crazy for you, and I know your schedule's not as it's not as open as a lot of people think. Like, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate it. We've been wanting to do this for a while, so I'm glad we finally were able to make it happen. And hopefully your roommate maybe can come on the show one day.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure he would love to.
Awesome. Where can people follow you on social media? It's time to plug now. So where can people follow you? What do you want them to check out? It's like your time to plug away.
All right. Twitter and Instagram, Hayley Lovitt. Don't forget the Y in the middle. Hayley. Yeah, Twitter and Instagram. Check out my IMDb because I can't say the stuff I'm working on, but once I can, that's when it's on IMDb. So that's how you can keep up with the stuff.
Very cool. All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, this has been Popternative. You can catch previous episodes Popternative, YouTube for the video episodes, iTunes for the audio episodes. Please be sure to subscribe to both. Until next time, this is Hayley Lovitt and Petey Beans signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.